Hi, this is Lady Lex UK and this is a Dreams tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to equip and unequip a flashlight, how to get a automatic flashlight in areas that are dark, and also how to make those areas actually dark. So let me show you what I have built. Here is my player. If I press my R1 button, he's going to equip his torch. The torch is on, as you can see when he casts the light on a wall or something like that. There we go. So there we go. There's him with his torch. If I go into the cave here, it's going to get very dark and he can only see by the light of his torch. And if I walk out, it gets light again. Right then, I've also got an area over here that works the same way as that cave. It goes dark and it's like so. And I can then equip, so I can be plunged into dark here. Like so. Now I've also got the automated torch, so if I go into this microchip, I'll just change the wiring. This is I'm going to show you these two methods. They are not compatible with each other in this format. You would have to work out a way of using AND gates and OR gates and all sorts of things, which I haven't done here. So at the moment this is either going to be an automated system or a manual system. Okay, so I've just changed the wiring, and now I can't manually give myself a torch, but if I go into the cave, he will automatically equip it himself. If I come out, it's unequipped, and if I go over to this area, it's the dark area, it's equipped, and if I come out, it's unequipped. There we go. Right then, let's have a look and see how all of this is done. Right, you'll notice there is no torch in his hand. There is a torch there, but because it is invisible, you can't see it. So let's see, can you see it when I equip? No. So in order to see the torch, we're going to have to preview invisibility, because we're using changes in the visibility, and so we have to turn that on so we can see it. Right, okay, so you take a flashlight. In Britain we call this a torch, a battery torch, but I know in America a torch is one of those flaming sticks, so I don't want to confuse everybody, so I might use either of those words interchangeably. They mean the same thing. Okay, flashlight, torch is the same. Right, so in this microchip then, let's convert that back down to the previous scenario, which is turning on and off. Here we have our torch. I've scoped in and made sure that is part of the hand, like so. And I've got a microchip, and this has got a node which is detecting whether or not the player is pressed R1. So what I've done, if I go into the puppet logic and go into the controller, you can see there's a wire here from the R1 button into that node. If you like, you can use a wireless system. I've wired it. It's entirely up to you. It makes very little difference in the thermo, whether you have a wire or you don't have a wire, but I've wired it to a node, is what I've done. So it's up to you how you do this. You can do things all sorts of ways in the Dreamiverse, and that's the wonder of dreams. Right, okay, so I've got this wired up. So when the R1 is pressed, what this is going to do is it's going to move through the selector. So A is the default, and that's the flashlight unequipped, and B is the flashlight equipped. So as you press R1, it's going to go backwards and forwards between these two, depending on which one it is. So it starts off with A, then goes to B, then goes to A again, then goes to B, etc., etc. Okay, so wired up to A is this keyframe. This keyframe is what the flashlight looks like when it's unequipped. And when it's unequipped, it's invisible. So you make this invisible. If it's got anything like a text gadget or anything like that, like to make glass, which mine did, you might have to turn off the text gadget as well. But that's what you do. You just make it invisible when it's unequipped. And B is what happens when it's equipped. So you can imagine this is the reverse. So this is now visible, and I've moved his hand into position so that he's now holding up the torch. Now you'll notice I've also got a light. This is also attached. This is put into position, and this is going to be powered by that B. So there we go. This is the position of that torch, the lamp, and that's going to shine out like that. You can change this to be brighter, different colours, all sorts of things you can do to that. And this is powered by B. So when this torch is equipped, this is powered on. So when it's unequipped, it won't be powered on. And that's how that one works. And that's it for equipping and unequipping. That's very simple, and you can equip and unequip all sorts of objects in exactly the same way. So swords, axes, a hat, all sorts of things can be equipped and unequipped using this selector method. You just make things visible and invisible, make sure they're non-collidable, and it will work perfectly fine with pretty much every object. Right then, let's have a look at the other method. This is a signal from the transmitter. This time it's going to actually set the port. So this wireless receiver is receiving either a 1 or a 0 from a transmitter. And that's what this active point is. So it's either going to be 0, which is the A, or B, which is the on. So A is 0, is off, B is on, and is a 1. So this is what's happening is that's sending a 1 or a 0 into this selector, and it's equipping and unequipping the flashlight. So what is turning that on? So we have a transmitter here. I've set this wireless receiver to receive from the entire scene. So you can put this anywhere. It really doesn't matter where you put that. You don't want it so that it's looking for it within a distance. Just have it for the whole scene. So it's just looking to see what this is sending out. And what I've got is I've got inside my cave. Whoops. I've got a detect zone, which I'm trying to collect. There we go. There's my trigger zone. And it's looking for a possessed controller sensor as normal. And its detection wire is going into the signal to receiver. So that's saying, yes, I've detected the player, so it's now dark. So that's now sending a 1 to our torch, to our flashlight. That's sending a 1 and telling it to turn on. This over here, this is done slightly differently, and it will depend on your level which way you do this. Sometimes a trigger zone is not suitable maybe the shape of the area is not suitable for a trigger zone, or you're having difficulty. This way it's the floor, so if they're actually in an area and they're touching the floor. I've also got it so that if they jump, it's also going to detect, so be careful of that. What I've done is I've used a laser scope. This is called ray casting. Here it is. Here's my laser scope. It's in my player. If I just select that, you'll see. There we go. I've popped the laser scope. It goes all the way through him into the floor, and make sure it goes down far enough so that if he jumps, it's still going to be connected to the floor. It's still going to detect the floor. Try to get it. I had the difficulty getting it vertical, but try and get it sort of vertical-ish. So that that's, you can move this up and down like this, like so, to make sure he is detecting. So he's looking for the floor, and what he's looking for is the scenery label. So this is now going to be used just for areas of darkness. You can choose any one of these. I've chosen the scenery button. So when he steps on this area, or any area that is labelled as scenery, it's going to activate, because it's wired, hit something, it's wired into that wireless transmitter. So it's saying, yep, we want to be dark, and we want to turn on our torch. So if we go into our torch, you can see there's an extra keyframe here. This keyframe makes everything dark. All I've done there is I've gone into sun and sky and just changed the brightness in the keyframe and made this all nice and dark. I apologise if you can hear that helicopter outside. Obviously somebody's been naughty near where I live and the police are out. Okay, so we have that makes everything dark, so that if you're going into an area that is detected either with that detect zone or by stepping on a piece of scenery, it's going to make everything nice and dark, and as soon as you're not stepping on that, it will just go back to what it was, the settings that it was before. So there we go. There is how to equip and unequip a torch automatically or manually and make an area nice and dark. I hope that was okay and useful for you, and as always, I will catch you in your dreams.